Welcome back to the Malted Man Cave. I'm Keith.
I'm Dave.
And tonight we're going to be doing a 12-year-old sherried whiskey from one of the few family-owned independent distilleries left. Coming up. Alright, so we're back. And like I said, tonight we're going to be doing a 12-year-old sherried whiskey from one of the few independent distilleries left, family-owned, Glenfarclas 12. So this baby comes in at 43% ABV. It is, unfortunately, I think it's chill filtered, but it is non-colored. And that's why they put it in the brown bottles to hide the color.
I don't mind.
Touche.
I don't mind.
Touche. Yeah. I mean, it is unique, it is cool, and I'm glad that they don't color, so.
Yeah.
Glenfarclas, I mean, we've done several Glenfarclas, so I'm not going to get huge into the history. As I said, one of the few family-owned independent distilleries left. They are just known for sherry bomb, and pretty much all of their whiskey is sherry matured to some extent. I'm sure there's some one-off whiskey out there that's all bourbon matured, but I have never had a Glenfarclas that didn't have some sherry maturation, and I've never even really heard of a Glenfarclas that doesn't have some sherry maturation.
I wonder if they do, since they're family owned, are they fairly small? Like, is it a fairly small operation there? We don't know that information.
No, I wouldn't say it's small. I mean, it's not huge. It's not.
Like,
it's not
do they do it as like
it's not Glenfiddich or Glenlivet.
Is it a way of being cost effective? All being.
No, that's just kind of like their MO. Like that's like their thing. Is they're a Speyside, heavily sherried. Distillery.
Yeah. And they're fine. They're fine being that.
Yep. Another thing is that they're well known, as I said before, getting sherry cask, quality sherry cask. Mm-hmm. They also have a unique characteristic. They direct fire their stills. So a lot of stills now have like a steam heating system that's inside the still, and there's very few distilleries left that actually direct fire their stills. Basically, they have some. I don't know if there's any ones that actually have flames left. But anyways, the heating source is outside of the still.
It's funny that you said that they're known for using good casks, because you were telling me that sometimes people get like third run or fourth run. Yeah. And
sixth run, seventh run, and ones that like. There's another thing also is that some sherry casks actually held sherry for a decent amount of time, and some's like they put sherry in there for a week and they're like, oh, it's a sherry cask, and try to sell it like it's a legit sherry. But so that direct fire still, for me and many connoisseurs, they think it just kind of adds a little something extra. Mm-hmm. There's several of my favorite distilleries are direct fired. Springbank, I think it's the Wash still. Not all of the stills, but one of the stills is direct fired. And there's a few other ones that it is Glenfiddich. I think Glenfiddich is too, but I digress. Anyways, Glenfarclas has always been a favorite of mine. It's not my favorite distillery by any means, but it's always been a quality distillery that I've never had a bad Glenfarclas. Mm-hmm. So, without further ado, shall we get into some whiskey?
Yeah, let's do it. My first note was old.
Really? It does kind of. The other thing. Guess what?
What? Oh, dunnage warehouses.
You're learning, Dave. Dave's learning. Oh. We had, like, just so everyone knows, we had about 7 outtakes where I was trying to explain sherry matured and how they're. I pretty much have only had sherry matured Glenfarclas, and Dave literally started laughing 5 times in a row. So, sherry matured and dunnage warehouses, Dave.
So old was my first note. Sherry was my second one. And it was, you said, my point earlier about the...
what a good note. Sherry.
Shout out. No. How they use good casks, because it tastes like a good wine. Like you can tell that it smells like a good...
Yeah.
Like they used quality, is what I was going to say. The next one is floral. Can't get more specific than that. Just
need to start going out and smelling the flowers, bro.
I know, man. It's winter. Green apples. And then I couldn't quite figure out what it was, but it was watermelon Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah. I totally think that's in there. Now that you said
that's in there. And it like like you're eating watermelon Jolly Ranchers in a musty library.
For sure. So I get honey. What do you
my notes.
They're good. They're great. Cheers. I get
musty library.
So honey, I put grape and apple preserve. One of the really beautiful notes and something that I really enjoy about the Glenfarclas 12 is it has this like grapiness. Like grape Kool-Aid, grape, I don't know, like things that I ate when I was a kid. Like the artificial grape flavors that you'd get in candy. So, but I also get kind of like a really good grape and apple preserve. I get sweet cherry cordial. It's not real strong, but like slight rum raisin bread. Nowhere near like you get like the Abuna, the Backlava Abuna. I got rum raisin bread, and it's like really strong. This is barely there in the background. And then one thing that Glenfarclas is known for is having this kind of fresh cut grass. Kind of, I don't even know how to, just fresh cut grass. A vegetal grass smell that's kind of behind all those fruity sherry flavors. Pistachios, a slight bit of mint, menthol, and then lastly I put, after about 15 minutes, if you were to let this sit for about 15-20 minutes, you get that a slight faint hint of cocoa. You know, a lot of times I get chocolate or cocoa or dark chocolate with sherry whiskeys, but this is not like a hardcore sherry bomb by any means. It's very delicately, lightly matured sherry. I bet this is probably third fill, which is not always bad. Sometimes people don't want a huge sherry bomb that's just like overwhelming. They want something light and delicate. So, what do you get on the palate?
Palate. Once again, I put down that Jolly Rancher taste, kind of that artificial that you were...
With the grape?
Yeah.
The watermelon too?
That artificial, that candy type taste. I put Jolly Ranchers in wine. Just a very rich taste to it. Yeah. Apples. Definitely apples, green apples. And then I wrote, it was kind of Listerine-esque. It's kind of like a mouthwash kind of taste.
Kind of minty menthol that you get with Listerine?
Yeah. I also put down peppery and clove. Was definitely in there. I wrote spice rack. I didn't really know how to describe it. It's just, it's got a lot of different spices in it. And my last note was, it once again reminded me of a spicy cologne that my grandfather wore.
Yeah. The Aramis?
Aramis.
I think you mentioned that in the very first video that we did together.
It's probably...
The Macallan edition #2.
Was it?
Yeah. Alright, so for me on the palate, I get a little bit of grape and apple juice. Again, honey, toffee, a little bit of butterscotch. I think butterscotch is way overused in scotch, but this is one of the few that I actually legitimately taste some butterscotch. And to be honest with you, the Glenfarclas 17 is another whiskey that I actually legitimately get it. There's only a few I've ever actually feel like it actually tastes like butterscotch, and normally they are second, third, or fourth fill sherry cask. When you get a little bit more of that oak, and not the strong sherry, is when kind of the oak and the sherry kind of mix together for butterscotch sweet notes. Backlava, which we've talked about before, I get that a lot in sherried whiskeys. Kind of the honey mixed with like the what else is in baklava? I know it's the pastry with honey and nuts.
Sugar.
Is there any the dates? That's what it is. Yep. Is there any other fruit in there?
Probably a whole.
Is figs in it?
I would imagine.
If you know the recipe for baklava, let us know. Then I get cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, all those kind of typical spicy notes you get from sherry casks. And then lastly, I get a little drying oak and just like the slightest note of black tea. What about the finish?
The power of the pause. Man, to me, a lot of those, the sherry flavors that you were describing, the raisins, the dates, the whatever is in that baklava, definitely stays on my tongue. I notice I can feel this kind of feel. What's the ABV on this?
43%.
Okay, it feels like a higher one to me.
Really?
Yeah, definitely on the finish, it feels like a little bit.
It does end a little hot.
Yeah, I think that's how I would describe it. It's a little bit hot. I know it's not a high ABV because I can sense it, but it gives a presence maybe of those notes, whatever, are hitting.
You know how that sometimes can happen? And this is kind of generally accepted, maybe a little hypothesis and theory, but a lot of people, I know Ralphie and many other respected people, and myself in the little, quite a bit of research that I've done, is that when it, like a spirit, even if it's like low, 40%, 43% ABV, and it kind of tastes hot, it's kind of like a rush distillate, like they kind of are rushing the process of making it, and they're not taking their time to make sure they get the right cut points. Does that make sense? And
yeah.
It's just, yeah.
There's just like something.
It's not quite refined to where it should have been. You know, maybe it's too much of the feints or like the low wines, which we've never talked about. Maybe next video.
Maybe next one.
Anything else you get on the finish? Did you say moderate or long or slow?
Moderate,
yeah.
I would say.
All right. So I get, it's moderate. It's not like, it's not short. It's moderate. And I get a lot of those, like grape, apple, preserve, honey, a little bit of that toffee. And then it ends on that drying oak, black tea, and a little bit of like cinnamon, like red hot candies.
Yeah.
It's pretty good stuff. It is a good quality 12-year-old whiskey, for sure.
Yeah.
Malted Man Cave marks out of 100.
I'm gonna say an 84.
Touche. I'm gonna give this an 86 out of 100.
Okay.
I like this.
Yeah. I do too. It's not very memorable.
It's sherry.
It's not very memorable.
Like, yeah.
It's just not that memorable to me as far as.
I knew you were going to give it a high score. I knew you were.
Hey man, I'm sorry.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
This is what we do: is we actually taste whiskey and we give it an honest.
I know, but it's a good.
I
know it's a good whiskey, and there's a lot of people that really enjoy it. So I'm like, I feel bad for. But in my very limited opinion, it's not as. It just didn't have anything that really stood out to me.
I agree with you. When I was first on my Scotch journey, like this was impressive whiskey to me.
Yeah. And
now it's just okay.
Just my refined taste over. I'll tell you what, man. When I go out to the bar. Helly and I went out for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I was
what
is this
junk?
I was judging the heck out of them by their poor selection.
Where did you go?
Well, it wasn't. I'm gonna say now. They had Booker's, and I love Booker's, so I had Booker's. It was called Roost.
I don't think I've ever heard of
Roost Italian.
Where is that?
It was good. We loved it. The food was great.
Columbus? Dayton?
Dayton. Yeah.
So, funny thing about Valentine's Day is, Lindsay and I were going to do a Valentine's Day lovers review. Yeah. But she was going to come on here. Yeah. And we were going to do just celebrating Valentine's Day and do a review. Which did not happen. Because around 9 o'clock, I look over, we're watching TV, trying to get our kids to go to bed or whatever. And I look over after we put our son down. He's like 1 and 3 months old, and our daughter's 3.5. So she was getting ready to go to bed. He was asleep, and I look over, and my wife's like this. So sorry guys, there was no Valentine's Day lovers review on the Malted Man Cave, but maybe soon. So
I like to think every time you and I get down,
it's a lovers review. All right, question of the night. Since it is during the Winter Olympics right now.
Yeah, we were just watching some downhill skiing. My question for us was, what is the most memorable moment in Winter Olympic history for yourself, and what is your favorite event.
Oh, wow. I was way too generous with me and not enough with you. There you go, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
For me, my favorite winter event is the snowboarding cross. I think is what it's called. You know, where there's like 8 of them and they're like racing down this course.
Yeah.
And obviously whoever like gets past the finish line first wins. And like people are like falling, they're doing like jumps in the air and like running into each other. Like it's like the coolest, like most intense, like exciting.
Yeah, and it's probably
sport.
only what, like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a minute. And it's fairly new. So like I love it. I was actually ticked because I missed it the other night. I didn't know when it was on, and I caught like the last one. I was like, dang it, like the one thing that I really want to watch. But for me, actually, go ahead and say your favorite event.
Man, my favorite one goes back to from when I was a kid growing up. My brother and I both had air rifles, and so our favorite was the biathlon, which is the cross-country skiing and the shooting. Well, so we love that. Just the fact that it's a gun. I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, it's a gun. America!
So for me, my favorite memory of the Winter Olympics is in 2006. I believe that's when the Torino, Italy, those Olympics.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember Bodie Miller?
Bodie?
In America. I don't know about in other countries. I mean, obviously more so in America because he's American.
No, he was worldwide famous.
But yeah, like he, won like a lot of the world championships. He was like the favorite to like win everything. And like America, like in U.S., like all the commercials, it was like Miller time. Like they're playing on Miller Lite or Miller Genuine Draft is a type of beer. And there's a famous like slogan is Miller time. Or whatever, and like every commercial was like him going down, and they're like Miller time, and like how awesome he is. Dude literally like lost, like was like came in last in like every event. He was in 5 events.
Isn't that one?
5th place, 10th place, last place.
He like showed up in an RV late or something like that.
Yeah, and he was he's like kind of a cocky character, so he kind of got what he kind of deserved. I mean, I was rooting for him being an American, but it's just kind of funny how much they like hyped him up, and he just fail. Next one, fail. So that was the thing that sticks out the most in my mind was Miller times fail.
Miller times. For me, this is kind of dual. Growing up, Scott Hamilton.
We did the foot.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, Scott Hamilton. Figure skating was always my family got together to watch figure skating.
Dude, figure skating has got real effeminate. Like back in the day, like the male figure skaters, like obviously they weren't like the most manly men in the world, but like it wasn't like super. But now it's like they're wearing lace and they're wearing like this bedazzled.
I mean,
like,
you go get it.
They're not even trying.
You go get it. You go get it. I tell you what. Then you look at the size of their quads, and there's your man.
Not this year. Not this year. They're all gangly and like 6'6" and like 100 pounds. My daughter was watching. She was like, "Daddy, why are they dancing like girls?" They're being like all artistic. And I like figure skating, and I am totally fine. I have an effeminate side of myself, even though I was in the military.
You should see it.
And even though
it's beautiful, it's beautiful when it comes out.
I definitely have an effeminate side.
So my favorite moment would have to be, man, I had it and then I forgot it. You have to edit this out. Yeah, so my second one would probably be, let's say I always love, and my son loves the snowboarding events. Yeah. So really think any of the snowboarding, just like you, I mean, it's exciting. But then also like probably any jumping events, I would say that. Any of the snowboard, half pipe, but then also like the ski long jump. That's
where they're like leaning forward.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was like a close second for me was Shaun White. Like back in the day when they first did the half pipe snowboarding, he was just so much better than everybody else. Like it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
It was just seeing greatness. Now they've caught up. Now he won the gold.
I remembered it.
Dave, what is it?
I remembered it.
We had to edit this video and have him come up with like a fake second memory because he totally forgot about it.
Yeah, obviously it's my favorite. But every year, you have to see this clip. It's from, I forget when it was, but Australia's speed skater that won the gold medal because everyone in front of him fell.
That's how he won.
And he won. He won gold.
God was on his side.
He was in like last place.
God wills it!
and everyone fell in front of him, and he just skated around him, and he got gold.
Wait, I don't remember that one. What year was it?
I think it might have been Sydney. It might have been the Sydney
Australia?
Olympic. Or no.
That was Summer Olympics, bro.
What?
Struggle City.
Oh man, Sydney Olympics. I don't know.
I told Dave to drink coffee before he came over. It's
been a long day. This might be the only review. All right. So that one, man. That's you got to look it up. It's hilarious.
All right, so go Team USA. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like, subscribe, leave a comment. We love to talk with you guys in the comments. If you guys have a question of the night, feel free to drop it. We would love to.
We always say that. Nobody ever answers. I think one person's asked a question.
We've had 5 or 6. But what's funny is when we didn't do one, people say something. They're like, "Why didn't you do the question of the night?" So why do you people want the question of the night, but you don't give us questions?
Seriously, Keith gets mad. I have one job, and that's to come up with a question. You're not helping.
So go Team USA, like, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and slime.